food is so popular. Probably the most popular on the planet, huh? Pizzas, huh? Every day you see pizza stores. I don't know everywhere, but I see them everywhere I go. Isn't even in Russia and China, pizzas, you know. Good. So you then how did that happen? How did you end up here?
I was living in Brighton for 2 years.
Brighton.
Yeah.
Cooking in Brighton.
Harinam party.
We saw Harinam party.
Okay. On the beach. And I was like, I need to ask the number.
When was that?
3 years ago.
Oh, okay. COVID time, huh?
Yeah, just after. Just trying to get out of the COVID situation. And I just loved them. And then I came here and I saw the temple. And one year after that, after all the Ratha Yatras and festivals, I came here, stayed 3 nights. And then
you just visited, did you?
Yeah.
And then you joined the temple.
Still here, very long.
Huh?
Very long. Still here.
You're still here.
For 3 nights.
You just realised you came to visit and you're still here. How long ago was that?
1 year and a half.
1 year. And most of you have been on book distribution, or all of you have been on book distribution. How does it work here? June, you also join them on books? Really? A lot of Malaysians here in visit. A lot of Malaysian people on holiday here in London or not? A lot of students. So you speak Chinese, right?
Yeah.
Chinese. A lot of Chinese people. You ever tried Chinatown for book distribution? No? No.
We tried Leicester Square.
Huh?
We tried Leicester Square before.
Tried what?
Just off Leicester Square.
Leicester Square, yeah.
She's just off.
Yeah. No, in Chinatown, I don't know. There's not so much necessarily China people there. There are, but Chinese shops. They're a bit tight here. I'm not sure that. I don't know whether the Cantonese or the Chinese or Cantonese in Chinatown. You know, it makes a lot of difference where they're from in China as to how they respond. You know, in Malaysia we have Hokkien, mostly Cantonese, but there's a lot of Hokkien, and the Hokkien are completely different to the Cantonese. You know, you can say, 10 times more likely that a Hokkien will take a book than a Cantonese. They're so charitable, so religious. If they see anyone dressed like, saffron, they may immediately bow down to you. They're very accustomed to piety. I remember one time I was in Penang. Penang is strongly Hokkien. And I was in Rifle Range. I don't know if you know Penang very well. It's near Ayer Tam. You know Ayer, must have heard of Ayer Itam. Famous holy place for the Chinese there. And there's one market there called Rifle Range. I used to go to the markets in the morning, and because it's not customary for a monk to sell a book. Monks don't sell things in Chinese culture or in Asian culture. So I would go there and I would just stand there in the market and hold my cloth out like this. I have a big box of books next to me. I just hold my cloth out and Tiam yu, tiam yu, tiam yu. They all mean it's kind of like whatever. Please give a donation or something. And I remember that day there was a queue of at least 100 people waiting to put notes in my cloth. Pretty much everyone in the market after they shopped were queuing up to then put money in the cloth. Amazing. Within about an hour, I just did about 100 books or something, or more maybe, I don't know. Completely, all gone. Yeah. Very pious. You won't see that in Chinatown. They're businessmen. Hokkien are businessmen, but they're not ruthless. The Cantonese can be quite ruthless in business. Hong Kong, they're from Hong Kong side, Canton. Anyway, I don't know what they are. They're probably quite tight. They haven't got time for a monk coming in asking for a donation. Let's see, anyway, whatever. Give it a go. So that's everyone, isn't it? I can't guarantee I'll remember everyone's names, but most of you. So we'll have a tiny little kirtan. What's your time frame, like 1 hour or something? When do you have to go? When do you have to go? Who's the ringleader here? Who's the chief? Who's the boss here? Dhiradatta or Ananta, are you the slave drivers here? Pass the buck. What's the time schedule?
We can go on for. We'd love to hear from you. So.
Oh, I don't know about that. You haven't heard me yet, so you don't like that. You might change your tune after a short while. I like your humour. Got a good British humour there. I don't know if French people pick up on these things or not. French humour is a little different to British humour. First thing when you go to countries, you've got to be able to appreciate the humour. You won't get through, even on Sankirtan sometimes, you've got to know the humour of the receiver. Huh? Not that you crack jokes or anything, but to some extent you've got to be a little bit relaxed and, isn't it? When you meet somebody, sometimes you have to even almost semi-joke, if not a full joke with the person, where you're coming from, and they say something, and then you respond. You be careful what you say. Different countries may take it differently, different people, different cultures. And they may not be so fluent in English also. We used to live in PJ. What was the name of that street? Jalan Templar. Templar? You remember? Is that right? Templar. And that was back in the early 80s. I was in KR from beginning January 84, most of the time till 96, 84 to 96. Most of the time, not all, but most. I was in Malaysia, and I used to go all over, everywhere, traveling around Malaysia. Distributed tons of books, tons. And one time we had 20 devotees out on full-time book distribution in Malaysia, all brahmacharis. Even Bhakti-Vikash Maharaj wanted to send his brahmacharis to Malaysia for training, for Sankirtan and so on. He would come sometimes. And of course, he's famous for brahmachari life, his book Brahmacharya and Krishna Consciousness. Perhaps, I don't know if you're allowed to read it, but it is there. Orange book, bright orange usually a book. Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pastya Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pastya Jaya Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Brihat Mudanga ki. Go Premanandi. Oh, glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Panchakalpatrubhyascha. Kripa Sindhuveva Chapanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo. Namo Namaha. I'm looking at a picture. It's a little bit shiny because of the glass, but it's a beautiful picture of a painting of Gopal Krishna, isn't it?
Yeah.
Krishna there sitting on the rock. Now this was a famous painting, and we have this at New Mayapur. But besides that, this was in the 80s. Now there's a link here between Italy, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. I'll tell you the link. And that is that this painting, which you can see a picture of the painting, beautiful painting, is, I don't know who originally painted it, I can't remember, but in Italy in the 80s, the art department, ISKCON art department was based at Villa Vrindavan. So most of the main artists were there. Those were still painting. And they were producing from that art, you know, many posters, including that one. Now that wasn't very popular amongst the public, the Kalya Krishna painting here. But this one was super popular in Malaysia. They were printing them in Italy, these beautiful, I don't know, there's not one in this room, but you still see them all over the place. These, I don't know how to describe it, these prints, beautiful prints of these paintings. And they're very high class, very quality, thick paper, and kind of, you know, anyway, don't know the term, but very beautiful. And we were ordering tens of thousands of these from Italy. And we would go door to door amongst the Chinese shops and Chinese houses. Are you from China? No. You got your coat on back to front, do you know that?
Yes, my belly.
Belly, keep your belly in. Keep the belly in, huh? And look after your figure. Look after your figure. You've got to be Italians. Look after your health. So they came from Italy. Those, and this was one of them. And this is one of the most popular. Rasalila, the old Rasalila, you'll see that painting. This one, a few others. They were the most popular. And you won't believe how many of those we distributed. I don't know, our team, how many they distributed. And everyone who took one of those was given a book, you know, in Chinese Gita, or with their Tamil, they give Tamil Gita. If they wanted English, you get the English Gita. Because most of the shops in Malaysia are run by Chinese. Even you go to a Muslim place like Kuala Terengganu, huh? Kuala Terengganu. Mostly a Muslim area, but almost all the shops in the city are Chinese. They've conquered the retail market completely almost. They had to, I don't know about now. So we go shop to shop, and there's tons of these. So then after that era, it became have you heard of Hong Kong paintings? Famous era of ISKCON's Sankirtan, so to speak. We would always give books with the paintings. People got a lot of money, but they weren't paintings, they were prints. But they would give good donations and they would give them a book. But then the Hong Kong paintings came in. These are original paintings. You say they're done by some famous, you know, artist in Europe or something. They're actually just done by some street people in Hong Kong. You know, employed people in Hong Kong painting all the... And they look good. We didn't do that, but all over the world started this Hong Kong Sankirtan painting program. It was huge. I mean, they would come to Malaysia to sell. Well, we never did that, a Malaysian team, but they would come from San Diego, they would come from Australia, from New Zealand, to Malaysia, and to sell these paintings. They would go door to door. They would go to like the sultans, the Sultan of Perak, the Sultan of Selangor. They're all buying these paintings, to put in their palaces and houses. All these Hong Kong. They're not Krishna conscious paintings, by the way. They're just paintings. And this was like the big thing that the Sankirtan devotees were supposed to do, to sell these, bogus paintings of something or another, an imitation of some famous print. Every one of them was supposed to be original. If they went to the next sultan, they see he's got the same painting that you've got. Anyway, sometimes people would give them you imagine 1987, someone giving you 5,000 ringgit for a painting. Now that's not awful lot now, but in that day, that was a lot of money. You were probably not around to appreciate it, but it would be the equivalent of like £5,000 now in England. If you go back that 40 years or whatever, £5,000 was a huge amount of money. 5,000 ringgit was a huge amount of money. It would be the equivalent of what you would now call £5,000 in this country for one painting. And sometimes in a day, the devotees would collect 20,000 ringgit in a day selling these paintings. Didn't last, but it was so many years they were doing this. That was called Sankirtan. And I remember in England, I don't know, Scotland. The Scottish people are like, anyone who lives in Scotland, you've got to watch them carefully. I was sent to Scotland one time. We're going to, East Kilbride. Anyone has heard of East Kilbride? You have to be careful if you're a married lady in East Kilbride, especially if you just got married. Is that right? You haven't caught it. Scottish humour. No, English humour. Kilbride. Anyway, Motherwell's right next to it, so you can go there, it's safer. But East Kilbride, what is famous for? Oh, you probably don't know it. It's famous for unemployment. We used to go to these places, this looks a great place for Sankirtan. The streets are packed because no one's working. They're all on the street. Anyway, we go, ding, ding, ding. Can you give a donation to help the suffering or something like this? You can, so ting, 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 ting. Like that. It's so embarrassing. All these different eras we went through. When it first started in ISKCON, Prabhupada, of course, started it, as you know. Book distribution was his special siksha he received from his Guru Maharaj. Isn't it? You probably all heard that, I guess. Huh? What did Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj say to Prabhupada?
Everybody read books.
I don't know if he said that to others, but he certainly said it to Prabhupada. And that stuck. That was, at that time, all over the world. When I was in Africa, was in the late 70s, in Kenya, we were printing books there at that time there was still British printing, Scottish actually, the man was from Scotland. Scottish printing, the man in charge was from Scotland, the printing press was, I think, English. But very nice man, we were printing Swahili literature there, Swahili. It's a local language. I don't know if any of you have been to. You never went to Kenya. You've heard Swahili. Everyone's heard Swahili. So he would always encourage us. Of course, he's a businessman, so he was always encouraging us. He was happy we were printing with them, and he would say, he would always remind us, things like, Karl Marx. You've all heard of Karl Marx, I guess. You heard of Karl Marx? Mm-hmm. Tell him who Karl Marx is. Who's Karl Marx?
Communist.
Pardon?
A communist.
Oh, yeah, tell him more than that. Many communists in the world.
He wrote the manifesto.
Yeah, philosophically speaking, he is the one who kind of presented the philosophy of communism, if you want, political philosopher. And he was actually not thinking of Russia, he was aimed at England. He thought this would be the best place for him. Very intelligent man. But, you know, as everything goes, things get perverted, etc., etc. And one of his famous sayings was, we will conquer the world with 26 metal soldiers. Now, perhaps that rings a bell, perhaps it doesn't. Do you know what that means? I gave a clue earlier on, and the same clue was given by Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, probably later, but Karl Marx said 26 metal soldiers, we will conquer the world. Anyone got it?
Printing press.
Huh?
Printing press.
Printing press. Alphabet. English alphabet has 26 letters, and in those days, it's not like now, but even when we were printing in Africa, everything was letterpress. Have you ever heard of letterpress? Prabhupada printed the Bhagavatam in 62, 64, like that, on letterpress. There was no, offset printers were extreme. They were maybe coming in, but they were like big time, very rare. Maybe some newspapers, Christians, they may have had some of these modern offset. Offset is not the thing now, it's all digital now. But the letterpress was, each layer you have these little metal letters, and you have to put them in these like big boards, letter by letter by letter, to make the words, you see. And then it runs over, going back a long time here. Anyway, these letters then go over like a barrel, and boom, 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 it picks up ink, boom, 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 like this. It's a real mechanical process, Boom, boom. Letters are here, and this barrel is here where the paper goes around, and it goes boom, 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 like this. Not a letter, so if you make one mistake, everything's wrong. So like a careful letterpress. A lot of work involved in doing that. Putting each letter in. Someone's typed it or written it or something, you've got to do it like this. So we'll conquer the world with 26 metal soldiers. That was one of his famous sayings. And it's a fact. Prabhupada said himself that the communists were so influential in India because of literature. They never went there, but they just sent their literatures there. So many people were attracted. So literatures, maybe the format of literatures has changed a little bit over the generations in terms of now a lot of it is online or electronic or whatever it is, but the principle is the same. And books are still there, and they'll always be there. I mean, I say always, but they'll be there as long as, the times are allowing, so to speak. The most powerful thing. Book distribution, most powerful way of changing the world. This was Prabhupada's plan. Now we have Rath Yatra coming up. Prabhupada wrote one letter, I don't know, can't remember who to. He said, with introduction of Rath Yatra festival all over the world, in all the major towns and villages, whatever cities, and mass book distribution, we will conquer the world. Not the way, don't take it wrongly, we're not on some kind of Christian crusade, we're going to kill everybody or something. No, this mission is to change the consciousness, the way we see things, the perception, because everyone's, we're all seeing it through our conditioned eyes, our conditioned, whatever conditioning we're in. We're judging things, we're seeing the world, etc. So we're not seeing it from the spiritual perspective. We're seeing it with ourselves in the center, our own limited, conditioning, maybe our religion or philosophy or whatever. And we can see how much, let's say, what's going on around here. It's not bringing unity. What was Prabhupada's first, in the incorporation document, what was his first point? Well, it wasn't necessarily Prabhupada's first point, but it was the first point that came out in the incorporation document. Do you remember? 1966, July, more or less. 57 years ago today, not today, but this month, Prabhupada formed ISKCON. The beginning stages, most of you were not even in your body at that stage. Maybe none of you were in your body at that time. 1966, any of you around? It's very significant for me. I was in Germany. Anyone from Germany? There he is. I was in Germany on that day. I know, because I was on an exchange course with a German boy. I was staying in a place called Zeltskitter. I'm going to pronounce it Zeltskitter. It's near Brunswick, Goslar, Brunswick in between, industrial place. I was staying with him there, and I know very well, because 1966 was the most glorious year in British history, next to defeating Napoleon. It was the most glorious day in British history, because England won the World Cup, the one and only time. And we were all going bananas in Germany. They were playing Germany in the final, and it was, what a scene, because we were stuck there in Germany, and England, it's like, Second World War, Third World War almost, Anyway, that's why I remember exactly at that time Prabhupada formed ISKCON, the same week this was going on. I don't know the exact day, I didn't look it up. It may have even been the exact day that these two events took place, but it was the same week for sure. So you will probably not remember that, 1966. But what was the first thing on Prabhupada's agenda? Do you remember? Have you got it? Is it written here? Read it exactly what Prabhupada said. There is a Lilamrita up there, a small one. I don't know if there's a big one. Yes, there is. Give us the big one. Let's get to the root. Let's get to the root. Have you read I mentioned yesterday, the Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma. Have you guys read it? All read it? There's, I'll find it. You give me the book. Is that part one?
Part one.
Whoops. Free to preach. Stay high forever. All these terms they use. Planting the seed. Here we go. It's probably in this chapter or the one before. Bill Epstein. Good on him. Good old Bill. Chuck. Robert Nelson. It goes through all these early souls who came to Krishna consciousness. Amazing. Planting the seed, breaking ground. I may have to look it up in the back after all, because it's just jumping. It's jumping from topics rather than dates here. Incorporation. We'll say one thing. Prabhupada said, before we find the incorporation, I hope we find it anyway. Oh. It should be here. Srila Prabhupada said that, to accomplish these aforementioned points, he said something very significant. What did he say? I know, Goldsmith, that'll be the name. What did Prabhupada say? To accomplish, this is in the incorporation document, the aforementioned purposes. What did he say?
Distribute magazines, books.
Yeah, to publish, to write, publish, print and distribute transcendental literatures. This was really the secret. Goldsmith, Stephen, they make you go around the houses to get what you want. That's what Prabhupada had to do to establish this movement. He had to perform so much effort, sacrifice. Some people say he almost had to bend this way and that way just to help. ISKCON's incorporation lawyer, 406, Prabhupada explains 406, let's look at that. Planting the seed. If it's true, it's in this one. Let's see. Here it is, got it. I don't know why it's not in the index. It doesn't mention incorporation. Very important, significant moment is in the previous chapter. The purpose is stated after Prabhupada explained why we wanted to have an association. Why? Why did Prabhupada say we wanted an association? Why? What was his reason? Official, legal association. What was his purpose?
The Krishna consciousness all over the world.
That was, of course, the essential purpose, but in practical terms, why? You can possibly do that by other methods, but why?
No tax.
No tax. He said that. He said, they will to become tax-free. There was no money, but Prabhupada was looking to the future. Amazing. 7 purposes. 7 purposes. 1, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge. Learn it. To systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large. And to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life. Why? Why?
So you can create God consciousness.
You can leave the door open if you want. In order to check the imbalance of values in life. What is that imbalance? What is that imbalance that Prabhupada wanted to check?
Between materialism and spirituality.
Yeah, the rampant, let's say, philosophy of the age is sense gratification. No? There was a very interesting one time we were in Vrindavan. It was Kartik month, Prabhupada's disappearance day. Some of you have been to Vrindavan during Kartik, maybe. And this is quite 20, 30 years ago, but there was one sannyasi from the Gaudiya Math. In those days they would sometimes speak, and still do sometimes, at Prabhupada's disappearance day, in front of the devotees. This sannyasi came up, English wasn't, he didn't speak long, it wasn't his first language by any means. But he spoke, and you could clearly hear what he was saying. He said, Swami Maharaj, they call Prabhupada Swami Maharaj, that's his official sannyas name, you see. Don't take offense. Swami Maharaj, amongst all the followers of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, was the only one who took this up and really understood, and not exactly, but it's more or less paraphrasing, the heart of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. While other disciples, he wasn't a direct disciple, he was a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. While other disciples, other followers, they were busy, studying and talking about philosophy and Vedanta, Swami Maharaj understood the real purpose of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. And he preached boldly Krishna consciousness. And he didn't just go to fussy old ladies. He didn't say that, but that's the point. Or just, philosophers. But he said, Swami Maharaj attacked sense gratification and science. He attacked them full on. He said like that. I thought that was quite a good, revelation that he had about the unique position of Prabhupada. No one has done that, even the present day sannyasis from the Gaudiya Math, I don't know, maybe ISKCON leftovers, I don't know what they are, but whatever they are, this is, no one's done this. It's such a ring, what a bold thing to do. Huh? The whole world is, then the scientists were the gurus. They were the world gurus. Whatever the scientists said, you saluted it. They were monitoring the world, I don't know if it's still like that, but in the 60s it was like that, They were worshipped practically. They were deified. In some countries they had deities. There's statues of all these scientists, People come and, pay respect. Yeah, it was an era of which was, probably went right there, and sense gratification was just accelerating like anything. With modern technology and transport moving around, and you get things from all over the world, and Prabhupada attacked the whole thing, bang on. Pretty bold. And not only that, he didn't just sit in Vrindavan and send letters and books. He went right into the heart. Right into the heart, isn't it? Can you imagine? New York? Now, you go to New York, most cities of the world are pretty much the same. But in those days, New York was the center. It was like, everyone was dreaming. New York was like, the streets are paved with gold or something, but He was like, that's the place to be. Sense gratification for me in New York, the Big Apple. And Prabhupada right in there, boom. Incredible, huh? And from there, of course, the heart. So Prabhupada, the purpose is to bring unity, so that unity and peace in the world. Just hear Prabhupada's thinking. There's not some sentimental United Nations or some, kill them all, then we'll have unity. Make them all Muslims, make them all Christians, then we'll have unity. Right? Get rid of religion, then we'll have unity. Whatever people's philosophies are. It won't work. It's the change of consciousness. Prabhupada's mission, as we know, Mahaprabhu's mission is to change the consciousness, not change the flag, not change the napkins or whatever, but to change your consciousness. And that's what Prabhupada, very strong, bold. He would challenge people right on TV. You see? Yes, women's liberation or whatever. He would bang straight in there. He wouldn't beat around the bush. Because he was an old man, he would say, I can get away with it, you may not be able to. They won't listen to a young guy. But he was incredible what he's done, and we're here now, wholly and solely, because of Srila Prabhupada. And his taking up that instruction of his Guru Maharaj, with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. To achieve, fulfilling these other purposes is the foundation. Book distribution is the what? What is it? What is Prabhupada's? It's taken from various places. It's not like in one list Prabhupada gave us, but in different statements he made. Like he said, preaching is the essence, purity is the force, utility is the principle, and books are the basis, foundation. The foundation of this movement. We study the books, hopefully. We discuss them, we try to implement them in our lives, and we try to distribute the books to others and educate them in the process of following what guidance is given therein to reach our ultimate goal. How important is, if Prabhupada hadn't distributed books, we wouldn't have books to read, I suppose. It's like kirtan. Hearing is the most important thing, but what can you hear if there's no kirtan? Isn't it? What do you think? If there's no kirtan, what will you hear? Your mind? What do you think, Ishan? No. Kirtan. Kirtan is a life and soul, Prabhupada said. Kirtan includes the same principle, book distribution, or books themselves, literature, Krishna conscious literature. How many times does Prabhupada talk about book distribution? It's not possible to say, is it? But if you look at the quotes, all of you can do this. There's books written all over. So many devotees have written books about book distribution. You've got one there, Our Family Business. You've read it? Our Family Business. That's one, but there are many others. The Nectar of Book Distribution, All Glories to the Sankirtan devotees, and probably many others that have been written about book distribution. But the letters, the statements of Prabhupada about distributing books are huge numbers. Huge numbers. One of the dangers is, we become a little unhealthily fanatical. You have to be careful not to become unhealthy. Fanaticism is not a bad word, but when it becomes unhealthy and we start to get a little proud or diminish the service, other services, etc., that's not healthy, that's not good. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be an instrument to distribute Prabhupada's books. How do you feel? What's your comment? Some of you have been doing book distribution a few years now. I think you've been doing it a few years. Anyone else? Distributing books for several years? Nananda's had a little experience, but not fully. In France, he loves book distribution in France. It's just, he can't wait to get back to France, to get on the street with the books and converse in Slovakian to the French people to try to sell them a book in English. To do, they're probably better when they're out of France. I don't know. Anyway, it's not that bad now. What's your comment? About your experience. Your experience. You think it's a privilege, or you think it's an austerity, or you think it's a punishment, or you think it's a waste of time, or what do you think? What do you think?
It should be taken as a great privilege.
Should be, shouldn't it? How many people in the world are doing it? Prabhupada did it. He did it alone in New Delhi, New York, wherever he was. What do you think?
I think it's a privilege.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say, but whether we realize it is another thing sometimes. Sebasti?
First it was an austerity, and then I lost it, and now I think it's a privilege.
Nice. Interesting. Many devotees, even to this day, many senior devotees will attest to this, that especially when you're going into a situation like, in those days, airports or something, and there's no kirtan, there's not a book table, it's just straight on cold book distribution. They go, not easy. You don't know who the person is, you don't know who's watching you. There may be cameras nowadays, so there's police around the corner, somebody's going to dob you in, it's cold, you know what to say, the person might, swear at you. Most will say it's not easy, even on a daily basis. You're talking of more of a long-term basis, but on a daily basis, it can be quite austere to start. Make that, kick off. It's not always so easy. It's like an old car, you used to have to wind the engine with this thing. Eventually it starts. It's a little austere, you don't know. Nowadays you just put the key in and go click and then off it goes. It wasn't like that in the old days. You had to, I remember doing that a few times when we were young. And Sankirtan, sometimes it's maybe not, but many devotees have that experience. That just making that start is like, you're thinking of something else, and you're on the street and people are just zooming past you at 1,000,000 miles an hour, in Oxford Street or in some railway station or something. They don't care about you just get out the way. I've got things to do, get out the way. I'm on my mobile, leave me alone. Right? Now everyone walks along on a mobile. They even notice you. You get so, an elbow, get out the way. And it's a little difficult, especially when the day doesn't start off as well as you'd like it to. You get those days sometimes? You get those days? Everyone's experienced that. You go through materially you say a bad run. Nobody's stopping. And those who stop, they oh, that's very interesting. What have you got? And of course, you all know now how to deal with those type of questions. The first thing you ask is you ask them where they're at. You don't tell them anything. Well, actually, I'm a Christian. And you know what's coming next, You've experienced that? You can spend 20 minutes with them sometimes, and then they start preaching to you. And then you get into this whole knot, and you end up, you feel like, if you're not a little self-controlled or mature, you feel like using your fists sometimes, Get away, go away. Sometimes in there, find out where they're at first before you start allowing them to dig into you. Especially when they ask questions like that. There's no harm, even if they're sincere. It's good to find out where they're at. Anyway, sometimes the days start off, the first person you stops, wow, and if you're not where you end up worse than you were before you started. Is that a privilege? Maybe not. You may not see it like that. It is if we understand it in the bigger picture. We're not getting our ticket back to Godhead by just being numerical numbers, are we? Krishna's looking at how many books. No, they've not got enough yet to enter into the spiritual realm. They're only on 1,410,000. What's the present entry? What's the entry figure for Goloka Vrindavan now? Oh, it's gone up. It's gone up. Inflation. It's now 2,500,000. It's gone up a million in the last few years. Sorry, you came too late. If you'd been around 10 years ago, you could have got in, but the number's gone up. No, isn't Krishna's? Yes, okay, it's nice quantity, but he's looking deeper than that, isn't he? Is he not? Looking at our, Sankirtan is great. All forms of preaching are great. All forms of service are great. Lord Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu, Sankirtan movement. What's the key verse of the Sikshastakam? At least at our stage. Yeah, what's that? Trinadapi Sinichina, Toropi Sahishna. Most of you probably know it off by heart. Maybe you say it every morning. What does it mean?
Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, make oneself low just on the street, devoid of all sense of false prestige and ready to offer all respect to everyone, in that state of mind one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Do you want to chant the holy name of the Lord constantly, purely? Would you like that? This is the condition, you could say, isn't it? What a condition. There are others that follow on, but that's a foundational condition. You're already chanting. You're already preaching. The first two, to some extent, may not be pure, but they're there. This stage, Trinadapi Sinichena. You may think, how am I going to control my desires for this, that, and the other? But this is one verse before that, so this is pretty important. Humility, tolerance. Krishna is very attracted by that. He's very attracted by our service to the Vaishnavas, our respect for all according to how we should show respect. He's very attracted to that. So every service has this, you could say, realization, awakening. But practically speaking, book distribution, I would say more than Harinam, to be honest, because on Harinam you're with a group. You can be almost oblivious to interaction with the public if you want, and just chant. You're not, although they may be spitting at you, cursing you, whatever, but there's a certain type of, let's say, distance there. On book distribution, there's not so much distance, is there? You're one-to-one, or you maybe have a group sometimes. Oh, this is interesting. This is 2023. I remember the 1973, that's 50? 1973, 50 years ago. Exactly, well that's interesting. The most glorious Rath Yatra, or at least in terms of its history, ever to take place in the UK took place. Is that right? Isn't that? When Prabhupada was here, that was a phenomenal year. Phenomenal year. Phenomenal. Now Dayamo is not here, so I can tell a story. Because he's a disciple of Mahavishnu Swami. Anyone else aspiring for Mahavishnu Swami? Anyone here aspiring? I'm sure you're inspiring from getting inspiration from him. Very inspiring Vaishnava, I can't believe it. Anyway, in 1973, in England, I was the treasurer I wasn't the treasurer of the manor, I was the treasurer of Bury Place at that time. I became treasurer of the manor at the end of the year. But in 73 it was Rath Yatra. And it was a glorious Rath Yatra, our beloved GBC Shamsundar Prabhu. And you won't read much of this in his amazing books, Rhino books, because every story has, different people see it from different angles. And anyway, he was one of the most, visionary devotees their movement's ever known. Great visionary, revolutionary visionary, in all fields practically. He picked this up, he was always a revolutionary. And he saw Prabhupada was a Maha-revolutionary, so he really plugged in there. And in London that year, which was probably an event which was like one of the pinnacles of his life, and many others too, was that he masterminded, primarily, not alone, but masterminded this glorious event. Trafalgar Square, you've seen pictures, was covered with state-of-the-art tents. They were blue, I think, blue or yellow, I can't remember, you have to look at the picture. Covered in these tents, they were the latest type of public tenting. Permission? Into the stones, bang, bang, to keep the tents. Those days there was no checkup. What do you think, Adam? Were you there? No, okay. Try to stay here at least, if not there. The cart, beautiful as always. Prabhupada was dancing, as you heard this, dancing all the way from Marble Arch in those days, not Hyde Park. Marble Arch to Trafalgar Square, thousands of people. And they weren't all brown-coloured in those days. They weren't all brown. Most of them were white. Now it's mostly brown, isn't it? Is that right? On the parade? Mostly white. Everywhere it was like that then. In San Francisco, 10,000 white people on the parade. Don't see that much now. I've got a picture of that, not that year, a few years later. The Trafalgar Square is packed, it's shoulder to shoulder. It's not like people milling around. It's shoulder to shoulder. It was huge. Of course, it hit the news in those days, all over the newspapers, headlines. That Rath Yatra was historic. Historic. Totally proud. The whole road was blocked. Prabhupada was dancing, totally ecstatically, and everyone was going wild. And the whole road, both sides of Pall Mall, Piccadilly, going from Hyde Park up to Piccadilly Circus, Piccadilly, not road, Pall Mall, the other one, but in Piccadilly, both sides are packed. You couldn't, the cars couldn't move. They were all just jammed, and the police are trying to stop Prabhupada. Tell the old man to stop dancing. It's causing chaos. And he wouldn't stop. No one could stop him. And then when they're entering into the Trafalgar Square, the bollards were still there. They had taken them, boom, knock over the bollards. The bollards got smashed over and all kinds of things. We're going to light some candles on Trafalgar Square during the ceremony. Next thing, there's a huge fire blazing for initiation. It didn't exactly go down well with the authorities, the whole thing, in terms of, following the law, the rules. And internally also it didn't, because what happened was, it didn't. Mahavishnu, then he was a young innocent brahmachari, had just inherited, I don't know the exact amount, but he'd inherited a lot of money in those days, maybe 10 or 15,000 pounds from his grandmother or somebody. And Shamsundar, whoever, suggested he use this to pay for the expenses for Rath Yatra, which was done. But unknown, maybe even unknown to Shamsundar, he doesn't exactly write about it in his book. There's a little influence there, but not exactly. 15,000 pounds came in, and about 30 or 40,000 went out. Overspent by about 20 or more thousand or more pounds, and that was a lot of money. We were in debt already. The temple had not paid the rent on Bury Place since 1969. Okay. That's one of the reasons with court cases and things came up in the late 70s, because there were so many unpaid bills. And I was the treasurer, so I was seeing all these bills coming in. Didn't have a clue, and had nothing to do with them. I mean, Shamsundar had an open checkbook, and he writes in there, he wrote check for this, wrote check for that. He says something like, as far as I know, it cleared. He doesn't, he never followed up on anything, It was like, in those days you could write checks left and right, and there was no, no computerization, nothing. That was it, you got it. And then the check bounces, and you have people on your case, bailiffs coming around giving you the sauce and everything. It was one after the next, whether it was the cars, whether it was the tents, the magazine. Now, what it was comes in, they printed this gorgeous, I have not seen it for decades, but this gorgeous Rath Yatra magazine. It was on the most expensive paper. It was like almost like glossy card, like 64 pages. Each magazine weighed more than a Bhagavad Gita, you know. I can't remember exactly, but it cost a lot of money. And they printed like 2,000 or 5,000 of these magazines, and we had to try to sell them. And I was one of the ones they asked to sell the magazine, so I didn't see any of the Rath Yatra festival. I was at Marble Arch and, you know, trying to sell them, and crowds of people around arguing, you know, it's like speaker's corner, everyone's going wild. And I never caught up with the Rath car till I got to Trafalgar Square. I'm just trying to sell these magazines, you know, it was like, you got 2 bags, and it's like each bag weighs about 15 kilos, you know, and you're going, incredible. And anyway, it was quite a scene, trying to sell these magazines and the Rath Yatra and the people. It was an amazing event, and Prabhupada's there, and it's a glorious event, absolutely glorious. But it took us 3 years to pay the bills. There's one picture of Prabhupada in Schloss Rettershof in Germany, that was near Frankfurt, and Prabhupada's laughing. There's a few, and one of the topics, why is he laughing, is because they'd just picked up, this is probably in '75, they'd picked Prabhupada up from the airport in a fleet of Sankirtan vans. They had these beautiful Mercedes, you know, smart vans, and 10 of them went to the airport, all the Sankirtan devotees, and Prabhupada rode back in one of these Mercedes vans, really nice vehicles, back to Schloss Rettershof, and Prabhupada, and the Hansaduta was saying, and who was saying? Someone was saying, oh, how many Hansaduta? Said, Srila Prabhupada, did you like how we met you at the airport today? Prabhupada said, yes, very nice. But in London, they picked me up in a helicopter. Helicopter. In 1973, we picked Prabhupada up in a helicopter when he arrived in Israel. And then Hansaduta, who'd then become the GBC, in the meantime, in the 2 years had passed, said, Srila Prabhupada, and they're still trying to pay for it. And Prabhupada laughed and laughed. The London temple was still, 2 years after, we're still trying to pay for it. I mean, we were trying to pay for it. That was what it was like. You know, we had no money. No money. Book distribution, very little coming in. We were trying, but not much money. And Hansaduta basically saved the British Yatra. You don't find that in these books, none of them. I know fact, as a matter of fact, whatever his problems were, he practically saved the British Yatra. In a very austere way, but it worked. History after that's another thing. But we were so much in debt. We almost, I mean, if George Harrison had not given us the Bhaktivedanta Manor, he didn't give it to us. Another thing you don't find very often. At that time, it was in his name. Only maybe late 70s, early 80s, it was transferred over at a fee. At a fee. It wasn't a high fee, but it was nonetheless a fee. At that time, he was just letting us use it for £1 a year. They call it peppercorn rent. And if he had given it to us, we wouldn't be here now. The bailiffs were coming around trying to claim the property. They couldn't do anything. We didn't own it. We were renting. Krishna has his plans, you know. Everything has his plans. I don't know, we've drifted off a little bit from book distribution, but it is all related. Everything's related. So be careful you don't get a little carried away. It is a privilege, but that we don't become a little proud, envious. An artist can come in to develop this mood of Trinadapi Sinichena. Isn't book distribution an ideal forum for that? What do you think?
Yes.
You know, Chris, you know, it's not easy sometimes, is it, when you go out there? He loves it. He loves to do it. He knows that this pleases Prabhupada. We all hear that. You can't deny it. But it's not always so easy. It is sometimes too austere for us. But it's great. You know, not many people come up to you and say, oh, how lovely. I'm so fortunate today to meet a Hare Krishna devotee on the street. Please, can I buy some of your books? You're the best people in the world. Please, how much can I give you for these books? Is £500 enough? You meet many people like that? What do you think, Ananta? Sounds like a difficult question. I mean, it does happen once in a while, but very rarely. Yeah, you've got to be quite humble. You can't start chastising people and getting on their case, you know. Isn't it? You've got to tolerate so much sometimes. The weather, your mind, what they say, the fact that no books are going out. Isn't it? Sometimes it's not easy, huh? And, you know, you've got to respect them. And whatever they say, you've got to try to be respectful. You can't argue with people on the street. And don't expect them to respect you. Isn't it? It's kind of a good forum to develop the consciousness whereby we can progress in spiritual life and actually get the grace of Krishna so that we can chant the holy name. So only by the grace of Krishna these anarthas will go away. They don't go away by mechanics. They go away by mercy. Mercy of Krishna. When he sees you're taking this on, call it an austerity if you wish, call it what you will, but when he sees that we're taking up this, you know, mission, even though it's tough for us, we're not transcendental, in one sense. Krishna gives you a little taste of that sometimes. You feel like you're floating on top of the clouds sometimes. You get that on the Sankirtan sometimes? You feel like you're floating. Everything's just, whew, it's having a great, let's say, a great day. Everything's going my way. It was a song, wasn't it? Who was that by? I can't remember. Everything's going my way. Sometimes you have days you feel like that, and then what happens? You all know what happens next. What happens next when you think like that?
Smashed.
Pardon?
You get smashed.
Crash. 3 hours later, you're sitting on the bench, tears coming out of your eyes. Krishna, what's happening? Not one book in 3 hours. The police hassling me all the time. The people's telling me to get lost. Someone pinched my book bag. Someone stole the money or whatever. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but all kinds of things may happen. Krishna, what is he doing? Doesn't he want you to destroy? Krishna, you're doing this to me. I came out here to destroy your books, and you're doing this to me. Yeah. You say to Arjuna, I'll protect you. What are you doing to me? Well, what's he doing to me? What is he doing? Is he doing anything? Or does he's having a laugh? Look at him suffer. I love to see people suffer. Is that what he's doing? Anyway, he deserved it. He's deserving it. Yes, he deserves it. He didn't deserve it. What's Krishna doing?
Purifying us.
Purifying us. How is that? He's supposed to be a loving father, if you want to look at it from a kind of present relative point of view. How is he purifying us?
He gives us situations where we tolerate them and become stronger afterwards.
We would hope that that would be one of the effects of these experiences. That's like an effect. What's he purifying? What's the cause? What's he purifying us of?
Reminding us that we're not controllers.
Okay, he wants to free us. These things sometimes are considered to be, you know, part and parcel, basically, of being in this world, being the controller. And most people are here, they, to some degree, we see ourselves as a controller, even in the efforts to become Krishna conscious, isn't it? You know, we get upset when someone thinks they're the controller and they want to control me. I want to control them, or whatever it is. To some extent, there's that there. We could control our senses. But we're not the ultimate controller. We're one. If we say one part, we're controller. And free us from that tendency to see ourselves as the real doer. The doer, controller, call it what you will. I am doing well. I'm having a good day. Okay, these things for children, childlike devotees like us, maybe those things are part and parcel necessary. Like a spoiled child, when he doesn't get what he wants, he cries and goes into a tantrum. I'm never going to do this again. I'm going to need another service. Give me another service, okay? Watch the pots. No! I did that before. Give me another service. You know, I want to go to India. I'm going to go to India. I'm going to do bhajan in Radhakund. I've had enough of this. I'm going to become Rag. I'm going to practice Raganuga Bhakti. This bitey Bhakti is not for me. You know, whatever flashes through our minds, you know. Hopefully that doesn't go through your mind, but it does go through some people's minds. So yes, he's trying to purify us of many things. I mean, ultimately, he's just trying to bring us to the platform of pure devotional service. It's not that he's trying to stop you just doing books. That's not the problem, is it? The problem is our attitude, isn't it? It's not necessarily a problem, it's just how it is, you know. And Krishna wants to remove that which is an obstacle for your progress in spiritual life. So that you can, genuinely speaking, become, you know, not just pleasing to him, but become happy. Real happiness, not the relative happiness we get from results, etc., but real happiness from pleasing Krishna. So he's trying to remove all these, let's say, various clouds in our consciousness, maybe pride, maybe, you know, envy. And you see it coming up sometimes, anger comes up, depression, all these things are symptoms of being under the modes of nature. Deliver us from the effects of the modes of nature. Well, there are thousands of quotes in this regard, in terms of the importance and the necessity of book distribution, the effects of book distribution, both individually as well as on the public. You can read them all, you've got all the books, you've heard that you've got lectures, etc., etc. And his lifetime experience. It's amazing. And when you look back on it, right now, what are you thinking? What do you want to do right now? Tell me. What do you want to do right now? What do you feel like you want to do right now? Go to the toilet. Okay, that's fair enough. What else? How do you feel? Yes.
I would like to sit here longer and listen to you, but I need to go.
Good one. Fantastic. Okay. A couple more minutes. Let's hear what the others say. Anyone else got any thoughts? I know what I'm thinking. I was thinking most of the time. You know what I was thinking? I'm thinking of Châtelet-Léal in Paris. You know that? What that is? Châtelet-Léal?
No.
You know Paris, don't you?
I'm from France, but I don't know France.
Oh, you've probably been there. It's the most busy place in Paris, practically speaking. It's the crossroads. It's metro station, big shopping mall, and then big metros and underground. The biggest metro station in Europe. Busiest, not biggest, busiest. And that's the crossroads of Paris. Mananda, you know Châtelet-Léal? He seems very, he's getting worried now. The madhouse. You don't know what it is. I don't know anywhere in London like that. It's not the crowds, it's the people that are there. I just don't know anywhere in London. London is like, you know, heavenly planet compared to. It's hard to say, you know. It's just a totally different vibe. It is. It's a really strange vibe. Much of Paris is like that. But that is the heart of it. It's the crossroads. It's just north of Notre Dame, and it's just north of Rivoli, and it's next to the big restaurant areas, and all roads come and go from there. Pompidou and all these places that are in that area. It's bizarre. But I'm thinking of sitting there with a book table, chanting Hare Krishna. Perfection of life. It's not really, but it feels like that, you know, just to be there. Now, not everyone's going to feel like that. It's not the same with everybody, but that's how I feel. That's where I want to be. It's much more austere for me to be at New Mayapur, in my hut. If you've seen it or not, I don't know, but I have a straw bale hut there, just sitting there. My peace, of unity and peace, is felt there, right in the middle of Paris, in a mad place with 50%, you know, drug-taking black people passing by, and God knows what's passing by, flashing in front of you. Crazy people, coming up, give me some, you know. All the crazies hang out there, including the Hare Krishna crazies. You just feel like you're right in the heart. I mean, there's much more challenging areas we can understand that, but in terms of normality, if you want to call it that, in street city preaching, I find that one of the most fulfilling and connecting places to be. I remember we had one devotee named Acharya. I don't know, I think anyone here would have known him. He is originally from Colombia. He, a brahmachari, he lives in India now, disciple of Bhakti-Vikas Swami. Bhakti-Vikas Maharaj sent a couple of his boys to France to help us in the early, maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I can't remember. He was one of them. And he would go every day, dutifully on book distribution, every day. You never met him, did you meet him in India? You may have seen him when we were in India. He was there at Kadamba Maharaj's program. You would have seen him, just didn't speak to him. He spent time with us. And he's kind of funny looking. He had a hard time as a kid. Anyway, he goes out every day dutifully on book distribution. And many days in Paris, he'd come back and say, "How was your day, Acharya?" He said, "Really good." I said, "Any books?" "No. No books. Really good day today. Really good day," he'd say. I said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "I really had to remember the verse of Lord Chaitanya today. I spent the whole day meditating on that verse. Three not a piece in the chain. Tolerate, respect, humble." I brought him to England one time. We came over for a program. It was Vaisheshika program, book distribution seminar at the Manor. I brought him over. 4 or 5 of us came over. Drove over. We went to Folkestone. We got off the bus, off the ferry. We went to Folkestone on our way up to London. So I wanted to visit what's his name, Priyakund there. So we called into Folkestone. This is about 7 years ago. We called into Folkestone, and we were on Harinam on book distribution for an hour or two. And I said, "How did you find it?" He said, "Not very good." I asked Acharya, "How did he go?" "Not very good." "No books?" "Many books." I said, "What do you say it's not very good?" I thought I was a doer. It was too easy. I didn't feel very purified. Interesting. He sees it the opposite way to most of it. He's an unusual person, to say the least. But, I mean, he was seeing it like that. He really liked it. To, just feel these... But not that we should live like that. We should try to distribute books. Not that we should just accept the fact that this is good for me. We should try to also be an instrument to bring pleasure to Prabhupada and to give the conditioned souls an opportunity. What are you thinking now? I don't know what you're thinking now. You're confused. What are you thinking now? What do you want to do?
Just try and meditate on Acharya, actually.
Meditate on his mentality. Isn't that interesting? The attitude. That's what Krishna is really looking for. Despite all the difficulties and limitations we have, it's not, I remember one we have wonderful, you'll see him, he's coming to England, his name is Madhavi, he's an initiating guru now in ISKCON. His grihasta lives in Cape Town, South Africa. He's initiating. Prabhupada's disciple, came to England in 75, I think. Joined somewhere else, but then he came to England. I have never seen a person so shy on book distribution as him. Never. But so dedicated. He would go out on the street. He could not look at people. He would look at the ground. He would be cringing like this. "Please take a book." He looked like he was about to cry. He was so shy you couldn't believe it. But so surrendered. He knew that this was pleasing to Prabhupada. Even if it didn't please me, him rather, he would do it. And maybe he'd go out and hardly sell a thing. But gradually, Krishna, with his sincerity, helped him become a little bit more confident. And he ended up one of our top book distributors. But he was so shy. Couldn't say, we in English we say boo to a goose. You heard that saying, Ishan? Still around? No, I don't think so. Not in Manchester anyway. In Scotland they wouldn't dare say it. Anyway, it means he's so shy you couldn't say anything. He could hardly speak. He would suddenly just hold the book there and hope someone would come and like talk to their feet. He would just look at their feet like this. He wouldn't look at their face. He couldn't. He was too shy. But his sincerity, and now he's, wonderful, wonderful devotee. I mean, he's so fixed up. And he's initiating devotees. He's coming to London next month. You may have met him, Madhavi his name is. Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj and his very, they're together down there. So yes, he realizes the understanding of the mission, the mood and mission. Rules and regulations are all important, but anyone here is a disciple of Kadamba Kanna Maharaj? You've heard of Kadamba Kanna Maharaj. He was here. Actually, it was last April, last year. He was here, I was here at the same time. And we privately talked about his illness. He said, Maharaj, I've only told one or two people. I have to tell you what's going on. And he confided. But amazing devotee. Well, one of his, when he was leaving his body, we just arrived, didn't we? That morning he left his body in Vrindavan. We arrived in Vrindavan the exact morning that he left his body. And a little bit, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, I went over to the house he was living in, almost a few hours after we arrived. And it was clear he was about to leave his body. Every day it was like online, he might leave today, but it seemed clear that was the day. So I went in, 8 of the 9 of us, Govinda Maharaj was leading Kirtan, and a few other senior devotees and a few disciples were there. Not more than 10 altogether, not in the room he was in, but the room outside. Only Jayadvaita Maharaj and Nitai, I think, or his personal servant, were inside. We were outside doing Kirtan, and then Jayadvaita Maharaj called us in, knowing that he's about to leave, so we went in. And he had one disciple named Vasudeva, I don't know if you know him, he's from Holland originally, also a Buddhist, but lives in New York now. And he was at the bedside, and I don't know what time Maharaj said it, but Maharaj's last words were, the mission above all. The mission above all. And the mission is twofold, internal, external. But external is easy to understand, but they go together. Lord Chaitanya had them like this. Prem Sankirtan. You can't separate. To come to the platform of real Sankirtan, Prem Sankirtan. So his mood, the mission above all. Don't forget, institution, this thing, that thing, rules, regulations, paraphernalia, all these things, rituals, what you may, but the mission above all. That's the secret. Focus on Prabhupada's mission. The mission to spread Krishna consciousness. The mission to also have pleasing heart pleasing to Krishna. And they go. And then Lord Chaitanya came for these two purposes, and he wove, garland, you have red, white. If it's all red, it's not so nice, but when you have the compatible mix of red, white, or yellow, blue, or whatever is compatible, it looks really beautiful. So he wove a wreath of Krishna Prem and congregational chanting with which he garlanded the entire material world. But that has been expanded through book distribution, of course. They are, same body, Harinam and book distribution together. So like that, this mission, focus on the mission. And the mission also, purification of our heart. Not just, we sometimes see devotees, shooting stars, but they forget the other side, the attitude, the purification. They forget to read Prabhupada. They don't take seriously the other aspect. We're not paramahamsas. We're conditioned souls. You can easily get affected by the influence of Maya if you don't take the other side into account as well. The importance of your own spiritual connection. You have to go to Studio 108. Is that right? Oh no. Yes. No. Is it open today? I didn't know it was open today.
Well, we're going to train up. There's a new cafe is going to open.
The cafe is open today?
No, next week.
Oh, next week, okay. Here he comes. He's come to hustle you all. He's come to hustle you away. Come on, a few more comments. What are you going to think? What's happening in your heart? Come on, tell us. What's happening in your heart? Pizza, cafe, opening next week. Pizza. What's in your heart? Italian pizza, Italiano pizza.
Just trying to take the service in the heart.
Pardon?
Trying to take the service in the heart.
Heart?
Trying to take the service in the heart.
State it.
Trying to take the service in his heart.
Take it in the heart. Very good. Trying to digest it in our heart, not just in the mind, but in the heart. Deep. It's the heart that has to be cleansed. We talk mind, but we sometimes, they're interchangeable sometimes in how we describe it, but it's really in the heart. Heart goes further than the mind. The heart means false ego. Right to the soul. And of course, the false ego can be turned by what we associate, how we associate with our mind and the world around us, etc. But it's really the false ego has to be channeled to pleasing Krishna and not pleasing me. Exactly. Takes time. Yeah, so trying to take the, let's say, the mission of Srila Prabhupada to heart, deep in our hearts. Anything else? Adam. Om. I feel very peaceful. I've attained liberation. By my austerities, I do not need to do anything else. I will go onto the street and sit there with tree bark. What are you thinking? Hard to say, huh? Embarrassing, maybe.
I'm not too sure.
No, good. I'm glad you're honest. Yeah, it's hard to say sometimes. Churning our hearts, questioning sometimes. Anyone else want to make a comment?
I really like that story about Shyama-Sundar Prabhu and how he's sort of visionary, who just relies on Krishna. Doesn't care
If the combination is there, I mean, Brahmins are not, they're not in cloud 9. Cloud 9 or cloud 11, what do they call it? 9? Like dreamers. Brahmins are not just dreamers, but they are dreamers also, but they're also realists. But you get the combination of someone who's a real visionary and someone who's practical. You've got to have the two have to go together. Otherwise the visionary will undermine the practical reality, and the practical reality person will not be a visionary. They'll just try to keep everything in blocks and institutionalize everything. The two have to go together. That's why Brahmins and Kshatriyas have to work so hard together. Very carefully, but we don't have, we're not Brahmins, Kshatriyas, but that principle is still there, the visionary and the practical executionist. They have to work together to try to achieve a goal. Prabhupada said in one of his last words that sincerity of purpose is essential, but intelligence and good management are also required. They have to go together, not just a dreamy idea that this would work, or maybe this worked over here, we just plonk it down here. You've got to have a little bit of intelligence to see the situation which you're in, to see how it can be digested in this area. Maybe it won't be easy to digest over there. It's like if you go to China, our Malaysian boy has left, but if you go to China, and you just distribute sweet rice and burfi and sandesh as the only prashadam, you're not going to get very far. Well, you're Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to Hong Kong and just set up a Food for Life program, and all you give people is sweet rice and yogurt, and maybe yogurt's a little easier, but no, definitely not sweet rice and milk and burfi and sandesh and rasgul. And why?
I think they'll be there.
Generally speaking, Chinese people are not so, neither accustomed to maybe, but they have a difficulty with too much milk product, more than most people. That's the general understanding. Prabhupada even said there you could serve mushrooms in Hong Kong. Different places, he said tofu, mushrooms. Look, he's getting excited. He wants to go to Hong Kong. And the pizza boys definitely want to go to Hong Kong. How can you make a pizza without mushrooms? Come on. It's not even a pizza. Especially a veggie one. We don't overboard, but I mean in certain circumstances what will, be digestible. And Prabhupada said the same thing with dress. If it helps you in your service, we're not attached to wearing this. If it helps you in your service, we wear it. And of course it's pleasing, it reminds people you can, talk always, but Prabhupada many times said, if you need to put on plain clothes, no problem. But if it impedes your devotion or your growth, that's another thing. You start identifying. I remember one time I was in Newcastle, I was alone, 1981, trying to start something in Newcastle, completely alone. I was living in a squat in the basement. And Amita gave me some old beaten up magazines because I didn't have more, I had 10 pence, that's all I had to my name. He gave me some beaten up old magazines, so I was going out on the street. And I was like, I was a little bit on my own, I sort of put some pants on, I was dressed in army clothes. And I was looking at, I had nothing, literally nothing practically except for what I had on me. And I looked in a shop, and there was, old tape recorders. In those days, these kind of like modern, I don't know, Sony tape recorders or something were just coming in, you put the cassette tape in them. And I was just like, I was just thinking if only I had one of them, I was like stuck looking in the window. I had been distributing magazines, but nothing was happening much, except for the police came up to me and said, "On your bike, Jimmy! On your bike, Jimmy! I told you yesterday, on your bike, Jimmy! Get out of here!" I was like taking a break from, looking in this shop and, dreaming of a tape recorder. Maybe I could get a cassette and listen to Prabhupada or something, And then suddenly, and this is, I just don't know, but I can't explain why, but suddenly, behind me, some voice came. There's quite a few people looking in the shop, There's like you go to Apple Mac shop when the latest Mac comes out or something. There's quite a few people looking at these new, Japanese tape recorders and things. Oh, they're looking at this. Somebody, I never found out who, suddenly somebody kind of quickly behind me, Maya, and then they run away. I don't know who it was, or whether it is even anyone, whether it was just Krishna, I don't know how on earth it happened, but I suddenly woke up, Maya. Yeah, this is Maya. I said, I'm not going to dress like this anymore because I can get away with it when I'm dressed like this. Nobody can. I look like everyone else. I'm just looking in the shop. But if you're dressed like this, and you're like stood there looking in a fashion shop or a latest Apple Mac shop, it doesn't look right, does it? Maybe nobody cares anymore, but Krishna, it's like, you're representing the mission. And everybody knows you're meant to be representing the mission. Maybe they've given up on missionaries, I don't know, but in reality you represent the mission. And what you do, what you say, how you behave, it affects people. It makes a big difference. I remember last year, but we were going around shops trying to get something from my computer. Excuse me, I got water. This orange juice is thick. Can't drink it, it's stuck. We were going around London. You were with me to various shops, Apple Mac shop, and they were sending us here and there. They didn't have. I was looking for some part for my computer. I can't remember what it was. We were dressed like this, and almost everywhere we went, people were asking us questions. What is this? We distributed quite a few books. We didn't get what we wanted, but we distributed quite a few books because people saw we were dressed like this. Nice people. Salesmen in the Apple Mac shop, they were nice people. Bus stop, the guy is asking questions. Where you guys coming from? I don't see. They can see you. They can see you if you're dressed in pants and shirt. Nobody can see you. Just another guy on the street. Yeah. Anyway, sideline. Either way, whatever makes you feel comfortable. We're not attached. Anyone else got a comment, question? What are you thinking about, Ishan? You're thinking about getting a nice place to stay tonight, isn't it? He struggles. He's really struggling in staying in ashram.
I did think about something, but it's because I don't really do book distribution, so I was thinking, how does someone that doesn't do book distribution understand that they're still doing Sankirtan?
Yeah, well, everything's Sankirtan. You know, it's like a war. You know, everyone's part of it. You can't fight a war if nobody makes the guns, if nobody provides the food, if nobody makes the clothing, if there's no supply line, there's no doctors. How are you going to win? No way. You're going to run out of bullets after one day. There's got to be, every part is important. You know, obviously the battlefield front line is the you know, you can't just make guns and have supply lines with no one on the front line. That won't work at all. The enemy is just going to take all your guns and supplies and just walk over you. But everything's important. But the front line is, everyone knows that's where that's the cutting edge. That's like, you know. And even if you're not going on book, I'll tell you, I mean, I don't know how long ago, but one marathon probably in the 80s or maybe early 90s, the top book distributor in the world was the head Pujari in Bombay. He never went out the temple for a minute. Because Bombay is Bombay. London's not bad either. It's not like Bombay. Every day 10,000 people coming in the temple. He had piles of books next to the altar. Everyone who gave a donation in the box got a book. It was distributing maybe 1,000 books a day. You think of novel ways, you know. Food for life, you know, you have your higher taste there with the little donation box. If you want to chip in the donation, take a book. You know, help yourself. Just throw in a donation. If you like the food, you can find out how to cook some of it. There are different ways of dealing with it, you know, different ways of, in the mentality, you know, encouraging. Cook very nicely so that the Sankirtan devotees are very enthusiastic, you know. Give them some packed lunches. There are different ways that you can, you know, feel more a part of this mission, so to speak. Not just doing a nice service, which is fantastic in itself, but you can even make it more fantastic. Everyone can be a part of it. You know, even just, you know, asking us, is there anything I can do to help you? Maybe I can pull your trolley for you. Maybe I can hold the books for you. And we used to have devotees during marathons. I don't know if you do here, but maybe different. And we used to have, we had quite a few devotees who were called runners. You know what a runner is? You know, you were stuck there and, you know, you're in Tooting somewhere, or you're in Romford or wherever you are, and you know you're going to run out of books in 30 minutes the way it's going. And then, you know, someone quickly fills up a big thing of books and boom, they were off on the metro to Romford or somewhere with a whole new supply of books. The runners, they're not distributing books necessarily, but they're suppliers. Everyone can play a part. It's a team. It's all a big team. If the deities are beautifully dressed, how do you feel before you go on Sankirtan? The Pujari is very Krishna conscious. You feel, you know, you feel a connection with the deities, right? You realize that this is for their pleasure. We're going out on the street to connect more people to them, to Radharani, so that she's pleased, that more people are giving pleasure to Krishna. Radharani becomes very pleased. You're connecting more of my Lord's parts and parcels to him to bring him pleasure, so Radharani will be very pleased. So everyone has a very important part to play. There's a mission, there's a whole mission, whole society. But, you know, the cutting edge has to be there, otherwise it's just not going anywhere. Preaching has to be there. It's the essence. It's the essence. Otherwise it can become just like a Hindu society or, you know, some kind of social club or something. Without preaching, Prabhupada said, you would not be able to carry on with your Hari balls. Preaching must be there. Giving. We have to give. Anything else? What time's the next flight to Paris? I want to get out on the street. I admit, I always used to think my desire in life was to die on Harinam in Oxford Street. And I'm not the only one who said that. You know, quite a few devotees thought like that. And one of them didn't die on Oxford Street. Well, my godbrother Bhattacharya, you may have heard the name. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, he left his body. he went through different experiences in life. Not all of them were so Krishna conscious. But at his end, he was working all the time to organize. I think it was on New Year's Eve, actually. He was organizing the New Year's Eve Harinam in the city, and he lived in Watford or somewhere. He had a restaurant in Watford, and I think Parashram was running it. And he was organizing it, and as he was actually organizing, he had a heart attack. He didn't die immediately. He had to go through a few purifications, but he died sometime afterwards in hospital in a coma. You know, you don't know what's going on in those comas. A lot of purifications taking place. You're getting freed of a lot of unwanted things as a devotee. So I'm sure because of all the Sankirtan he did and all the dedication he had to Prabhupada's mission for decades, that he achieved perfection. Wonderful devotee. Anyway, he left his body like that, planning how to organize the midnight Sankirtan, or the New Year's Eve Sankirtan in Piccadilly Circus. How did I get onto that? I don't know. Anyway, we got onto it. Very wonderful experience. Devotee, dedicating themselves to planning. Prabhupada said even greater than doing Sankirtan is organizing, planning. Not to be sure, therefore think, no, okay, I'll become a planner. Everything's important. Different persons have different roles. So I think one of the highlights of my life was 76, 77, 78, after I went to Africa. But I think that was about the highlight of my life, in terms of service, at least I felt it was. You won't be there. Maybe we'll be talking about it at the manor, I don't know. But there's a session on all devotees who were involved in Sankirtan. We'll be getting together, Prabhupada disciples, and discussing. It's supposed to be during the 50th anniversary, but I don't know the details. But then I had the privilege of being the coordinator of the Sankirtan in the UK. It was such a wonderful experience, we had about 80 devotees out on full-time book distribution. It was like morning to night. There were no computers or mobiles, and every night we had like 9 or 10 traveling Sankirtan parties going around the UK. And every night they would phone in. We had it we gave each one a 15-minute slot to phone in. Like 6 o'clock was one, 6:15, and they were on the dot. On the dot every night, 8, 9, 10 parties phoning in. I would take all the calls. I would ask them how they are. Is there anything you need? I'd read something from Prabhupada. What are the scores? It was all handwritten in those days. What are the book scores? We'd have them all read out in the morning in front of the deities. It was like a whole thing, It was so amazing. Then sometimes we have to send people to Scotland with a truckload of books for the parties up there or here or there or by train. This, that, the other, non-stop, knowing how many books you needed in advance, everything. Coordination, cooperation. This is cooperation. You're doing different things, but you cooperate. Cooperate for the mission. It's the secret. It's not you're doing your thing, you're wasting your time over there. You should be on book distribution. You're just a neophyte ringing the bells. Prabhupada said, neophytes stay in the temple and ring the bells. I'm an advanced devotee. I'm preaching. I'm a preacher. You're not a preacher. I hope it's not that bad, but sometimes that flicker comes in. Superiority, one's superior. It's not superior to others. It's just part of the same body. You work cooperatively. Any comments? You're looking intently. Abdullah Prabhu, what do you think? We're going to go to Cairo and open a temple in Cairo and distribute books on the street?
Yes.
Yes, he says, in a dhoti with a shaved head. Hare Krishna! Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You've got to take this book. Have you read the Arabic books? No. Do you read Arabic?
I can read it.
I'd like you to confirm that. One devotee was a little disturbed because they're from Arabic, they're from Lebanon. Half Lebanese, half French, and I don't know, they don't read Arabic, but one of the other devotees there, he said on the front page of one of the Arabic books, maybe two of them, it says, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Krishna is the Supreme? I haven't seen that.
No, I don't know at all. He said that, and I haven't justified it or qualified it with anyone, but he said that. Someone should check it out and see the Arabic books, those three. You've got those Arabic books?
Yes.
Excellent.
3 small ones. So you check that out. I mean, even yoga for most Arabic people is like a dirty word almost. It's like, devil's workshop. You call a book Perfection of Yoga, it's like, perfection of sin or something,
Yeah.
You got to be conscious of, the form in which you're in, and take things carefully. Probably spent almost a year just studying the American lifestyle. How they do things and so on and so forth. Practically speaking, preaching at the same time, but studying also the culture, etc. So I don't know. If you read Arabic, check that out for me, please, and let me know before I go. I don't necessarily believe that, by the way, but that's what he said. And it's kind of important to know. And anyway, it's another world there. Arabic word, probably anyone who preaches in amongst the Arabic countries, North Africa or wherever, probably said, I take the dust from their feet and place it on my head. Preaching to Muslims is probably one of the last frontiers. China's also a big frontier, but at least there's some openness there going on. Many books in Chinese, and Hong Kong is like a gateway. But even in China, there's thousands of devotees, and the Muslim world is probably the last frontier, major frontier anyway. Probably. Let's see. I don't think anyone's preaching in Antarctica yet, though. Although the holy name was chanted there a few years ago, you know that. Couple of devotees took a boat from Tierra del Fuego. If you don't know where that is, it's at the bottom of Argentina. They have boats going on a sightseeing tour of Antarctica or something. So they went there and they stayed a few days there and they did Harinam actually on the ice, Religiously, there was a set of books in one of the research centres there, a full set of Prabhupada's books, one of the research centres. The only entities there where they were doing Harinam were a bunch of penguins. Wonder what the hell's going on around here. These penguins on an iceberg, watching them doing Harinam, boom, boom, boom. What type of penguins are they? Orange penguins. We've never seen orange penguins before. A new species of penguins has arrived. Are they challenging our domain? We're the kings around here. You guys are careful. Yeah. Anyway, there's not many people to preach to, at least in human bodies. Hare Krishna, any comments, questions? You're fed up already? No, more feeding. No end how much you can take. In Krishna consciousness, there's no end. You can never take too much. Maybe you can't, follow at some point, but ultimately there's never satiated. The more you do, the more you want, the more you get, the more you feel. Hare Krishna never goes down. What do you think, Ishan?
Huh?
You okay?
Yeah.
We'll keep on cooking it up, okay?
Okay.
Scotland was always has been one of the best preaching fields in the UK. Always was. So many wonderful devotees from Scotland. So many. And Scottish people are, anyway, rugged as they are, they've got a soft heart as well. They've got a very kind of, open, soft heart as well. Miserly, they may be sometimes known as misers, but at the same time, they can be generous. They're kind of very nice people. Irish even more so lucrative. Ireland, oh my goodness, Ireland was the queen of the Sankirtan fields. It was so good. You been to Ireland, anyone? You were in Ireland last year, huh? Ireland is so nice for Sankirtan. So nice. But nothing can compare to Oxford Street. How many people a day on Oxford Street? Over 1 million, they said. I mean, no one counts, but they said at least 1 million a day. Imagine, even the Harinam, if they see it, and half those people might see it, and if there's 6 hours Harinam in a day, you're going to get 400,000 or 500,000 people. Just picture the Harinam. What an incredible picture they're taking in their minds. Something they'll see when death comes along. Or if they meet a devotee or get a book or something like that, Amazing. So many people. The Prabhupada said, even if they touch the book, their life is successful. What to speak of? Or see it, their life is successful. What to speak of? Take it. And what to speak of? Read it. Just by touching it, they get benefited. Some of our Sankirtan members just go up people and just touch them with the book. Tup, 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 tup. Touching the lotus feet of the Lord.
Raj, you mentioned you said the way you'd like to go is to be in Paris with a book table. What's so attractive about that sort of simple type of book distribution as opposed to making many things?
I get famous. Simple as that. People see the pictures all over the world, and I get these nice letters from people saying, Maharaj, oh, you're so wonderful. You're doing such nice service. I wish other devotees were doing the same thing, especially in the marathon. You're out there in the blizzard, sat there, sometimes alone, with books sometimes on the table, people going by chanting Hare Krishna. He knows all about it. He knows exactly what's going on. Yeah, you get well known. Simple way of getting fame. Nobody bothers you, so it's easy, very easy. You just have to sit there and chant. If someone comes up, well, I don't speak French, so I don't have to worry. I don't say anything. It's their problem. The donation box, if they want to throw some money in, they can take a book. I don't have to do anything. I just sit there and sing. Pretty easy. Till the guy in the shop next door comes and tells you to buzz off and you're causing too much, annoying me. Or the police come along and tell you to buzz off, or some bum comes up and tries to steal everything. Whatever it is, somebody comes up and argues with you or whatever. No, it's what can I say? You can't measure the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. You can't measure the interaction, between the Lord and the jivas. It's, I would say you just feel closer, in one sense, closer to Srila Prabhupada and Lord Nityananda than other situations, that's all. I'm not saying that's the case in every situation. You may be in a very difficult situation anywhere, and you can feel that, little mercy, a little bit of inner happiness, a little satisfaction inside. At least you're fortunate enough to be, maybe not effective, but at least you're taking part in the yajna and hopefully inspiring others somehow or another. Maybe that's one of the feelings. I've always had that kind of part of my false ego. Well, if it's somehow or other, if you can do something which will inspire others, then it's worth it, I think so. What do you think, Rupanuga? You know, you've been there many times, you've seen it.
Yes. I was a few times. Harinam in Paris is more like we describe, is more like we sit down and we put the books on the nice cover. Actually, it is right, but people are coming and take interest, take pictures, and sometimes take books like that.
It didn't used to be like that. Of course, it's illegal. They never used to let us do it 4 or 5 years ago. When we could try, and they'd usually come along, get out of here. You can't do this. They don't stop us much now with the book table. Not like they did 4, 5, 6 years ago. They do sometimes, but not very often. And we don't just do that. We sometimes move around with Harinam, but mostly daily. Every day the Harinam going out in Paris, different spots. And they put a book table, as Rupanuga explained. But there will be 1 or 2 devotees also doing books at the same time, moving around the road, the pathway, the people there. Not just waiting for them to come, both go on. So that's when you have more than 1 devotee.
Yes.
Krishna Kripa, you know Krishna Kripa? He's there right now. He goes on his own. Every day. Every day. Not every day on his own, but when the book distributors and the other devotees are not going out, he goes out on his own. 7 days a week, 3, 4 hours every day on the street chanting. And he has a few books. He's not a book distributor, it's not his thing. But he always has the books with him. Every day. He never stops. Even if no donation comes at all, he carries on. And he's been doing that for decades. 3 hours a day is his quota. It's like 16 rounds a day, plus 3 hours on Sankirtan a day. Nice, huh? Good example. Not so well known. Mahavishnu Swami, different devotees who were doing every day, practically every day. Great examples, inspirations. Why? They're feeling something. They're feeling. There's something going on inside. You can't define it in terms of externals, but there's a relationship inside. If you love somebody, if you're dedicated to somebody, you'll do anything for that person. You don't mind being shot dead for that person. Look at Mahavishnu Swami. He's going to one of the most dangerous cities of the world to preach, in Congo. Like crazy. The people are not even interested. They just don't respond practically. I know. I mean, I've not been to Congo, but I know what it can be like in Africa. But the Congo is like, whoa. It's generally known as the toughest. They speak French there, by the way. And he goes there and preaches, Doesn't change. He's still the same Mahavishnu Swami with his thing he holds in his hand and the hat on his head, and everything's the same, and he's going up to people and they're looking at him. He goes to the next one. He goes everywhere. Fearless. Fearless. You've got to become free of fear. Fear is what? Forgetfulness of Krishna, really. When you feel Krishna's protecting you, even in difficult situations, then it really, you start to feel more and more internally protecting. Krishna's presence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Constant reminder on your arm there. Is that a representative of the material world or some spiritual personality?
It's Buddha.
Buddha, there you go, reminding you. Om, he didn't say Om, but something like that. Om Mani Padma, there you go, Om Mani Padma Hum or something. Om Mani Padma Hum. She chanted Om. So we wish you all the very best, and I'm very thankful that you're doing this in London, because we're not here, and we started here, and we thought we were going to take over the world in 18 days and conquer the world. You've still got some work to go. And it's great what you're doing here, trying to distribute Prabhupada's books in London and all the other things you're doing. But do try to keep your health together, material, spiritual health together, and be steady, regulated. Many devotees are shooting stars, we ignored our sadhana. I wasn't in that same category in those days, I'm probably more in it now actually, but many devotees did. I remember one devotee, he left his body, he got burned in a hotel for about 3 years ago in LA or somewhere in America. He was a top book distributor in the 70s, some point of time. His name was Punyatama, Scottish devotee from Scotland. Tenacious on the street. No one, I mean, he was so tenacious. It was hard to get, this word tenacious? Never give up. He was almost impenetrable. He wouldn't let anyone go. He was so tenacious, like a tiger on the hunt, He was so competitive. And with his sadhana, my God, his sadhana was very sad. Even if you got him up for Mangalarti, you had to keep waking him up at every minute, the morning program. And nobody really knew if he was chanting rounds, and reading books was like, geez, not for me, He just didn't have it, but he loved selling books. He asked one time in the morning, Bhagavatam class, Trivikram Swami was giving class that day. It's late 70s, I don't know what year it was. But he asked the question, he said, Maharaj, how is it that every day I go on Sankirtan, almost every day I'm top book distributor, and my sadhana is terrible. He actually stayed awake during that class, it was a miracle. Maybe he didn't, maybe he woke up at the end, I don't know, but he asked that question. And Maharaj said, what would you do if you weren't the top book distributor? I'd leave. You understand how Krishna was relating to him? You would have gone. That's what he said. It's my only motive to being here practically. I get the Mahaprasad in the morning, next day if I'm top book distributor. I like the prasadam, but if I wasn't top Buddhist, I would have to eat, porridge and an apple or something. He said I'd probably leave. A neophyte mentality, you can say, but I see how Krishna uses people sometimes. How he helps people to, hold in there, stay in there. Became a wonderful devotee. I mean, he did leave for a long time. He went back into his old habits. He became a drug addict again after a while. But then he came back again in his last 10 years. He was preaching up a storm on the West Coast. Preaching up a storm. And when the time was right, Krishna took him away. You see, Krishna he's just molding us, you could say, in different ways, through others, directly, and so on. Hare Krishna. Don't imitate that. It's not necessary. But sometimes that's there. You wonder why this devotee is just in so many books, but they don't seem to be much of a devotee. But we don't know what's going on in their heart. We don't know what Krishna's doing. We don't know who they are. We don't know what's really happening in there. We only see the externals. Unless we're internal, so. Unless we're internal, that we may not be, but Krishna sees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Brahmacharya Ashram. I don't know, we're supposed to talk about the Brahmacharya Ashram. I didn't mention much about it. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all very much. Midday. Time for a midday bath. We go down to the River Thames for your midday bath? We should go down to the Thames for a midday bath now, isn't it? In the Holy Thames. Yeah. Oh, you know what? They're allowing people to swim in the River Seine in Paris again now.
Really?
Yes, just this week.
Wow.
Revolutionary.
Huh? You can swim in the Seine.
There's a painting about that, right?
Huh?
There's a Rene painting about swimming in the Seine.
Patient?
Painting.
Painting, is it?
Yeah,
people swimming in the
Seine.
Seine.
Got banned. It's bad.
Yeah, it got banned, but they've just, I don't know what, there must be some conditions. I'm sure it's not anywhere and everywhere. You can't just go out in a boat and like dive into the river in the middle. I'm sure there's some restrictions and conditions, but I don't read it. I just saw the headlines. Swimming allowed again in Paris in the Seine. But I don't know what conditions are there. If you want to have a holiday, you can go to have a swim in the River Seine. You can go insane. Swim in the Seine and go insane. You can chant in the Seine, you can chant in the rain, or the plane, or the crane, or the train, or insane. You can chant in Spain or Ukraine. You can chant in the drain, you can chant in loss or gain, you can chant whatever. You can go on, can't you? Anywhere you can chant. Even in the Seine you can chant. Right?
Raj, are you doing Harinam today?
Pardon?
Are you going on Harinam?
Am I going on Harinam? That you'll find out when Harinam goes on. I don't know. I had a terrible night last night. A dreadful night for sleeping on it. Oh, one of those nights. So I couldn't come for any of the morning. I could have come, but then I would not have been here now. A terrible night. I slept 5 minutes, woke up. 1 minute, woke up. No, nothing. Slept for half an hour, and I woke up. It was like that. And I was up for 3 hours in the middle of it, from 12 till 3. No, no more than that, till 4:30. Just bits and pieces before and bits and pieces after. So I really don't know. I can't say. I chanted rounds, but whether they're today's or yesterday's, I don't know what they were. A bit unpredictable right now. We will if we can. 3 o'clock?
3 p.m.
We will. We have to take breakfast now. And see what happens. Yes, what to do. Many older devotees have difficulty sleeping. I don't know if you know that. Too much stress you guys are giving us. Too much stress. Too many things, too many issues. Yeah, you get all this, huh?
You have a little difficulty sometimes.
What's that?
There are some difficulties sometimes as well.
Sleeping?
Wake up.
Waking up or sleeping?
No, I'm just a light sleeper, so I wake up throughout the night.
You wake up, yeah. I don't know if I'm a light sleeper. When I fall, if I do go into deep sleep, I go deep. But it didn't happen at all last night. Not at all. Some nights I do. I go into deep sleep. You are literally a light sleeper. So you have earplugs?
Yeah, but usually I wake up in the middle of the night and my ears hurt.
I don't like earplugs.
Yeah.
I can't sleep very well. I feel like I'm in a goldfish pond.
Yeah.
You know, boom. I don't like it. I have a lifetime phobia about being underwater. I almost drowned when I was 2 years old underwater. My dad told me. I was swept up by a wave in St. Ives and almost drowned. I never remember it, but he told me about it. That was why I had a lifelong phobia about going under. I don't have it now much, a little bit, but not much. But for years I couldn't even jump into the water. You know, it was like, they used to push me in at school to, you know, in the swimming pool. I hated it. I come up, you know, there's nothing to be afraid of. I just got this kind of phobia. I don't know what to do.
Is this the book you mentioned?
No, it's not. I saw it there yesterday. That's an I haven't read that one. But this is by that's not by Rastamandala, that one, is it?
Sorry?
This is not. No, this is another devotee, Akif Banaf.
Akif.
No, this is Rastamandala. He's from Morocco. He's written. There's a book by him somewhere here. I saw it. I don't know where it is. Somewhere I saw it. Up there, I think. The green one. Where? Up there. Second from left.
Yes.
Pull that one out. That's not the one I brought. It's the same author and the same principle. Where's the books? Bring the books. We've got a visitor. We've got a guest here. Yeah, this is just for you. Are you from? Where are you from? Are you from Africa or from China?
I can't remember.
Can't remember. You're the perfect candidate. This just for people who can't remember. This is a perfect book for you. You've got a very nice jacket on.
Thank you.
I admire your jacket. The cap is incredible. I've never seen a cap like that. Where's Dymchurch Railway, by the way?
In Hyde.
Hythe. Oh, that's not, all the nicest people in China live in Hythe. Perfect book. This is exactly, you memorize this and your life will become sublime, okay? Just memorize this one, okay?
I'm in a bit of a rush, but how much do you want for it?
Let's see what you got in your pocket. Where's your pocket? You can't remember where your pocket is. So here it is. I've got it. Here it is. No problem. Let's see what you've got in your pocket. There we go. There we go. Let's see what we got. You got the card machine there. How many cards you got? Which one you like to give?
That one.
This one, Barclay card. Okay, there you go. 10,000's enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, put 10,000 on there, okay? Good boy, good boy, good boy. You can keep the book, it's okay, you can keep the book. You can memorize it all, okay? I'll see you next year, okay? You can get another one.
Well, hopefully we'll see you before.
You can memorize it by then, okay?
Actually, I'll keep that one out because I
Well, then, you need it. Oh, he's got cards for everything. Look at this man's high tech. Even for Mark and Sparks, he's got a card. Look at that. You're not Jewish, are you? You can't. Every Jew has to have a Marks and Spencer's card. They're a Jewish company, yeah. You know that?
They were in the beginning.
They were in the beginning.
They're no longer.
They're no longer.
So,
Keep up the good work, sir. It's so nice to meet you.
yeah, very nice.
When are you going back to Africa?
I can't remember.
I can't remember. He's really good, isn't he? We like people like this. Safe journey to Shanghai, okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.